And just got word there was no sound because I forgot to push that button. There we go. We're back and better. So I'll recap the Wade and Carter weather for you. As it always is, brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerlam Hay Feed and Ranch Services. 80 degrees currently, heading to a high of 90 for today. All right, let me know if that works. I think we're good. There we go. Thank you, Linda. Rain this afternoon, this evening, overnight, about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches is what they're calling for. Strong cold front going to push through and might actually feel like fall the next couple of days. So let's see. Where do we want to start this morning? Somebody throw something out there. Tammy Keeling checking in. Andrew Alvarez, Heather Stewart, Monty Howard. Good morning, Marina. Justin Glass, Scott Tomko, Rena Scherer, Mark Kurtz, Marvin Mickish, Bobby Leister. It is Caldo Wednesday. That reminds me to remind you all to get to Veracruz today. Enjoy that steaming bowl of caldo. Get one to go and then eat it tomorrow when the temperatures are only going to be in the 80s. It's going to feel like fall tomorrow. You can bet tomorrow the hand solo outfits will be out amongst the ladies. Dark leggings, boots, vests. It's that time. Funky Trey Molina. Rick King says that's a good way to kill 5 minutes. Linda Christ asking if the escalator didn't work at the UN. Do you think that was on purpose? Trump does. Yeah, the teleprompter didn't work either. The UN apparently blaming Trump and his team for jacking with the escalator and the teleprompter and all the technical gaffes. I think it allowed Trump to do what he does because of it. He took shots at the UN. And I couldn't agree with him more. Trump yesterday said the UN has failed to live up to its potential. I can't imagine being a UN General Assembly member and having to sit there and listen to that. Would have been pretty uncomfortable, but it should have been. The UN hasn't been what it was supposed to be probably since the 90s when peacekeeping forces were found guilty of all sorts of atrocities in the former Yugoslavia. Since then, they become a joke of themselves. When you let known human rights abusers like Muammar Gaddafi head up your human rights panel, you have no credibility except amongst yourselves, because what the UN is a global old boys club that launders money for its members. See multiple nations in Africa for all the scandals and money laundering through the UN programs there. That's all it is. The U.S. can't get out of the UN fast enough, in my opinion. Trump said all the UN is good for is it's really word let it follow up on. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve wars. And he's right. The Stewart says, heaven forbid someone know what they're talking about or have a paper copy. That's the beauty about Donald Trump, though. He doesn't need a paper copy. He'll use the teleprompters are great, but he didn't need it yesterday. Good morning, Jarrett McCurgan. He did use his time at the UN, though, to talk about Ukraine and Russia and the war. said economic pressure could force Moscow to the negotiating table, but also called Europe once again and even said, I mean, paraphrasing here, but Trump said, I told you this, what was it, 7 years ago when he was at the UN the first time? And he criticized Germany and other European nations for continuing to buy gas and other energy exports from Russia. He says until that happens, we're wasting time. And we've talked about that on this show. Talked about human trafficking being an international problem. There was a lot to it. The UN denied some reporters from being at the speech yesterday. The Epoch Times was not allowed to have anybody there because they are staunch critics of the UN. Donald Trump also had a meeting with Vladimir Zelensky from Ukraine yesterday. Said that he would support any NATO member that would shoot down any Russian aircraft that flies into its airspace. There's been several drones, and I think even Russian fighter jets crossed into some European countries' airspace over the weekend. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens in Europe, but until the spigot of money is turned off to Moscow, then nothing's going to change. I thought it was interesting that Donald Trump did reverse course a little bit and say that Russia, in ending when the war ends, may not have any gains that they've made in acquiring the land that they've gotten in the Crimea and parts of Ukraine. That's an about face. Hour-long speech at the UN yesterday. I'm trying to just go through snippets of some of the things that he said, and that the UN doesn't end any conflicts anymore, that they create new ones, and he's not wrong. Hammered countries on their immigration policies, saying it's destroying them. So we'll see what happens in the wake of that. You can bet the UN and its leaders are just going to be on the defensive, justifying why they need all the money they get. I almost feel embarrassed from when I was a kid and walked around on Halloween collecting with a little orange box around my neck, collecting pennies for UNICEF. Now that I know just how corrupt the UN is as I got older. There's David Glass checking in. And I still think they do some good work for kids, but I think the UN has lost its relevance. I think what it was meant to be following World War II and rising out of the ashes of the failed League of Nations is just not not what it was meant to be. It's become a place of political patronage. And has been run by despots from S-hole countries, let's be honest. There's not a Fortune 500 company out there that would take the leadership of the UN and install them or hire them to run their country or their company. None. None. And the track record of corruption in the UN? We just throw more money at them. Is it the John Birch Society that wants the U.S. out of the UN? Is that the one? I can't remember. Somebody might know. But I don't disagree that the U.S. needs to be out of the UN. All right, show of hands. Who watched Jimmy Kimmel last night? Some of you in Texas may not have been able to because Nexstar and Sinclair both announcing yesterday that they would continue to preempt Jimmy Kimmel's return to late night. I'm not going to belabor this. Kimmel went on a free speech rant, apparently. Which is interesting because the more and more I think about this, I maybe not to have 70 plus affiliates not air his return, but I do believe that had Sinclair and Nexstar affiliates not complained, they would have found a way to make this a crisis to take the spotlight from Charlie Kirk, for one, to boost Jimmy Kimmel's terrible failing ratings, and so that Kimmel can point out that Donald Trump's a fascist and free speech is threatened. Peter Nally says Kimmel did a great job last night. Peter, you weren't even awake. But I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that it wasn't a publicity stunt drummed up by ABC because their ratings are falling. Good morning, Torrin Bales. I don't know. Your thoughts? Publicity stunt or not? Yes or no? Just a yes or a no in the comments. Let me know what you think. Because the more I sit on it, the more I'm not convinced it wasn't. Or the more I'm convinced it was a publicity stunt. Let's take a quick break. Linda Chris says when Kimmel fails this time, he can't blame Trump. Marina says yes. Scott Snow says 100% a publicity stunt. And I think more and more people are going to start seeing through it as well. Already reminded you to get to Veracruz for Caldo Wednesday today. Tomorrow night, Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. Wade and Carter night. First ball pops at 7:30. Get there 6:45, 7. Enjoy great food and friendship, and then get set to win some money, because Wade and Carter listeners, at least one of us wins 98% of the times. USA Concrete Coatings. Give Charlie Garcia and the gang a call for all your concrete coating needs. If you've got a pool deck that, now that the summer's over, is worn more than it should have, or it's showing its age, breathe new life into that for next spring. Probably get a good deal right now too, because they're not as busy as they were all summer and in the spring. So get it done now, and it'll be ready for next spring. Your pool deck, patios, garage floors, anywhere you want to revive that drab slab, USA Concrete Coatings can get it done. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Give Allen's a call for all your towing needs. Saw Allen's trucks on the road yesterday, a couple of fender benders around town. Allen's had one of the cars on his flatbed. But they can help you get into if you're locked out of your vehicle, they can help you with that. They can help you with the jump start. As Brent says, put Allen's on the top of your favorites. Allen's with an A. 578-6300. That way you've always got Allen's, and they're all throughout the region. They've got trucks stationed at Cuero, Gonzales, Porfirio. Anywhere in the crossroads, Allen's has you covered. The Dollar Floor Store, speaking of having you covered, they'll have your floor covered in no time and for almost no money. Great prices on brand name flooring. Anything you're looking for, carpet, luxury vinyl plank, hardwood, laminate flooring, tile, backsplashes. Dollar Floor Store has you covered. Tamara can help you with all of your color coordination. Interior decorating design tips. Tamara can help you go see Tamara at the Dollar Floor Store on Navarro. Robert Zaveski checking in. Torrance says he saw Allen at the flag football game yesterday. There you go. Heather Stewart says desperate attempts by companies whose ships are sinking. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Torrin Bale says, I hope the two affiliates continue to not show Kimmel. Yeah, I think they will. Interestingly enough, I think it's Nexstar trying to buy another TV company or station owner. And if that was to go through, $6 billion deal from what I understand, they would control about 80% of the TV markets in the country. Can you imagine Kimmel being preempted in 80% of the country? The ratings are already bad. Lucky Trey Molina asks if I've ever protested. In what way? Like joined a formal protest or a march? No, I haven't. I don't even call for organized boycotts of anything. I quietly stop spending my dollars with companies that I don't align with. And I do my protesting at the ballot box when I vote against candidates that I don't believe in. Yeah, Scott Snow says it's just a desperate attempt to shift the narrative from Charlie to Jimmy. And I don't even know that it was so much to Jimmy. I think they thought that Jimmy Kimmel could be their martyr, their hero. I don't know why they picked Jimmy Kimmel. The guy makes $15 million a year. Unless he's pissed away every dollar he's ever earned. If the show never came back, Jimmy Kimmel was going to be pretty well off. Jordan Bale says he tries to protest at home when he doesn't get his way, and it never works. I mean, more people watched Charlie Kirk's funeral on Sunday up against the NFL, up against Major League Baseball in the waning moments of the pennant race, which we're going to get to in the Astros report later. Really. But, sorry, Jared just made me laugh. But Charlie Kirk's funeral drew more viewers than a week's worth of Jimmy Kimmel. Charlie Kirk's videos are getting more viewers than Jimmy Kimmel. And all the left can do is make stupid memes about Charlie Kirk. Now, there were a few weird things, I'll admit. I thought miking her up at the casket was odd and strange. But I don't know. There were some things that happened at the funeral and in looking back at it and the memorial that I just thought were weird. Miking up Erica at the casket, some of the pictures of the casket and Charlie Kirk's body in his casket. I don't know. And I can't be the only one feeling that. A little bit uncomfortable. Monty Howard asks how much of that 80% is urban. That's where viewership is. Probably a lot of it, Monty, to be honest. I mean, I think right now the companies have stations. Nexstar and Sinclair have stations in like Amarillo, Midland. But I mean, your big money is in the urban centers. I can't imagine 6.2 billion or whatever that merger is would be strictly, Pierre, South Dakota and Great Falls, Montana markets. There's just no value in those. Greg Garcia's the left has nothing, no more clout, absolutely no more high ground, and they just can't stand it. That's exactly it. As we pointed out, I think Monday, they're losing their key demographic. And they become the party of communism. That's what they are. And fearmongers who repeat the same few talking points that are fueled by Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, even in the wake of the Jimmy Kimmel publicity stunt, Trump's a fascist. Trump's a Nazi. He's taking away your free speech. That's all they had. They've got nothing. They've got nothing. Yeah, other things that Donald Trump touched on that the UN members and their climate policies, which again goes back to making money for the UN and the rich friends of those who are in renewable energy sectors. I think it's time to start calling oil and gas what it is. It is a renewable energy. We don't seem to be losing any of it. I mean, think back to the Eagle Ford. Every time we turn around, they're finding new shale deposits, new previously undiscovered gas fields. But let's stop subsidizing oil companies. Let's stop subsidizing wind farms, solar farms, all the green energy sources. We criticize the migration or immigration policies of most of the countries, Europe being overrun. Criticize the recognition of a Palestinian state, which I completely agree with. You're legitimizing Hamas. You're giving power, these countries, Canada, Australia, the UK, all giving legitimacy to Hamas to continue to do what they are doing. I thought this was interesting too. The Secret Service apparently dismantling a huge group of folks that were planning. They said there was no plot to target the UN meeting, but why else would you have the infrastructure capable of disabling the phone towers and 911 calls and text messages in New York City in the lead up to the UN General Assembly? But I also find it interesting that it was the U.S. Secret Service that uncovered this. Where the hell's the CIA? Where's Homeland Security in all this? Bonnie Howard says, I haven't heard the Dems pitch any new priorities or new ideas in years. It's all orange man bad. It really is. It's all they've got. And then what are they going to do in 4 years? I mean, I don't think they have a chance. I'm just posting a link to the UN. That's the list of, I guess, about 150 speakers are set to hit the stage at the UN through the rest of this week and Monday before they close up shop. But I mean, you know, nobody that's going to get on the stage in front of the General Assembly at the UN after Donald Trump is going to have anything exciting to say and capture the global audience the way Trump does. I think the only way you out Trump is if Zelensky and Putin get up there together and announce that the war is over between those two countries. That's it. That's it. Ryan Routh, the guy that was attempted or was the accused, now I guess convicted would-be assassin. This was the guy that was found hiding out at Donald Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach last year. Found guilty of all charges, including assaulting a federal officer, possessing a firearm as a felon, attempting to assassinate, at that time, the presidential candidate. Tried to stab himself in the neck with a pen before he left the courtroom. Sentencing set for December, and he faces life in prison. Still maintains he wasn't intending to kill anyone. Not just seeing on 1440, I guess. Nexstar and Sinclair, 70 ABC affiliate stations did not air the return of Jimmy Kimmel Live last night. So there you go. See what else is happening in the world today. Eli Lilly, this is big as Donald Trump, I think, starts to talk about drug pricing. It seems that the drug companies seem to be moving towards Donald Trump and asking the drug companies commit to their most favored nation pricing policy. Haven't really cut prices in this country yet, but apparently they're starting to raise prices around the rest of the world. So interesting. Bristol Myers Squibb announcing yesterday that they would sell one of their schizophrenia drugs in the United Kingdom at the higher U.S. price. They're not cutting prices yet. Next week, I believe, is the deadline for 17 major drug companies to take action on prices. But the Trump administration apparently still in serious negotiations before September 29th deadline to make a move on the drug pricing here. Meanwhile, Eli Lilly announcing a $6.5 billion plant that they will build in Houston, in the Houston area, to all boost production of drugs that they administer in pill form. So that's a huge investment for Texas. How do these things not get? I'm curious. I'm just asking questions on this, but is it because we just don't have the the workforce here? But how do these things not end up in cities like Victoria? Just curious. The facility is expected to create 615 permanent jobs and be operational within 5 years. That doesn't count all the temporary jobs from construction and all that stuff that goes along with it. But I don't know. Maybe it's the back end, it's the distribution channels and the costs with that. But I would think your cost of acquiring the land, proximity to Houston, an airport that has runways that are big enough. Nobody has problems driving trucks in and around Victoria. 18-wheelers are always on the future I-69 and heading up 77 and 183. We've got a rail spur to Houston. I don't know. Greg Garcia asking, I've seen the videos of liberal women taking Tylenol while pregnant that left idiocy on full display as usual. No, I haven't seen it. But, you know, they're becoming unhinged over this one as well. You know, like I pointed out yesterday, the FDA already moving to make the labels on Tylenol different, and Tylenol's maker never came out and said, oh, that's a bunch of garbage. The studies show or, you know, suggest that acetaminophen taken by a pregnant woman, it could transfer through the placenta into the baby and could impact neurological development of the fetus. I don't know anybody that I've known that's been pregnant, and I can't speak because obviously I've never been pregnant, but I don't know anybody who's ever been pregnant who didn't avoid putting anything into their body that they didn't need. Painkillers, medicines, all sorts of stuff. And all Robert Kennedy did was change the suggestion. And I think most doctors have probably told pregnant women for years, don't take it unless you absolutely have to. You know, we find out that if you're drinking, you shouldn't be taking Tylenol. It destroys your liver. I bet those associations those links weren't at all made known when Tylenol hit the market. So Lonnie Howard says it all goes straight to the baby. Yeah, anything. So for any of you that have been along the Texas coast, these pink meanie jellyfish, have you seen this? Changing gears a little bit here. Have you seen these pink meanies? Huge jellyfish, tentacles up to 70 feet long, apparently. Jellyfish themselves, like 5 feet wide diameter. Been spotted all on the Texas coast. They eat the little clear ones that are in the Gulf. But as per any jellyfish, I'm assuming stay away from them. But they're not seen often. But apparently they've even been spotted in the Port Aransas area. So I'm assuming if they're there, they're probably in Mustang Island. I'm pretty sure they're probably in Port O'Connor. So take a quick break. Then we'll get back to it. Got an interesting story out of Conroe to talk about. White Trash Site Services, White Trash Services, 550-1826. You have White Trash to call for all your trash collection needs in Victoria County and the surrounding contiguous counties. White Trash has you covered. I loved them as a trash collector when I was living in the county. They were always there, always on time. They never missed a day. When others would not come because of weather, White Trash never failed to show up. Always did their job. They might have been a little bit late sometimes, but rarely. But they always collected trash on the day they said they were going to collect trash. Chesnick Furniture Company. Chesnick and Love make your house a home. You just always do better at Chesnick's. Go see the gang at Chesnick. Great sales going on right now. Great deals on best furniture. American made in North Carolina, and all sorts of styles, multiple coverings. This is the great thing about furniture nowadays is you can pick the style and you get to pick what you want to cover it with. Something that's easy to take care of, leather if you want an upscale look. And the gang at Chesnick's can help you walk through it all and make the best decisions. Paravita Wellness for all your healthy eating needs. Or you want to put something clean in your body, pregnant or not, go see Erica and the gang at Paravita Wellness. They will help you eat better, eat healthy, make better eating choices. The Vita Cafe open every day on the weekends as well for brunch. Great selection of foods. Their flatbreads are awesome. Atsenoffer and atsenoffer.com. Stop on by. Get yourself a new car, and just in time for the Thanksgiving holiday travel season, which is just around the corner. Great selection of Tahoes and Suburbans on the lot right now at Atsenoffer. Always a great selection of certified pre-owns there as well if you don't want something brand new. Wendt Services for all electrical needs that you may have. Give Wendt a call. They can do it all. Whole home backup generators from start to finish. They will get you the generator. They are a preferred Generac dealer, so they can get you a Generac, and they will handle it from it arriving, installation, the propane tank, so it'll fire up. They've got a plumber on staff to do all that, so you don't have to worry about trying to sub it out yourself. And don't forget to stop by the Chopping Block. Great steaks, great meat, best boudin I've ever had. Their SPJ seasoning is phenomenal. They carry the locally made Gunslinger salsa. All sorts of spices and rubs for your meat. It is a meat market, but there's a whole lot more there. But stop on by. It is Wednesday, Wacky Wing Wednesday today. Great prices in all their marinated wings. I like the garlic parm. Throw them on like a baking sheet and throw them in the oven for a little bit. Perfect. Get a little crispier. Sauce doesn't drip everywhere because the baking sheet holds it in. Oh, so good. Now I think I know what I'm having for supper tonight. Well, let's see what else has happened in the world today. 2 illegals escaped federal custody the other day in Conroe. They apparently choked out a former Border Patrol agent while being transferred to an ICE detention center. Both were arrested in an operation targeting the worst of the worst near Spring. That's according to Fox News. Both of them are from Mexico. One's 29, one's 23. Both recaptured after their brief escape. One of them had been illegally in the country at least 3 other times. First time the other one had been caught by ICE, but apparently they have a known history of doing illegal things. That's why they were targeted. But they're just here for a better life, right? So from the Some Things Never Change department, apparently we've got a government shutdown looming October 1. I'm tired of these threats. When Biden was in charge, remember, it was the Republicans' fault that the government was going to shut down. Well, apparently the Dems haven't changed their playbook because, again, it's the Republicans' fault that the government's going to shut down on October 1. Let it shut down. I don't care anymore. Get your act together. I mean, what does Congress have to do these days? They have to pass a budget. They can't seem to do that. Get it done, folks. Just ridiculous. Oh, speaking of ridiculous, the Astros. 5-1 losers to the Athletics yesterday. Now a game back of Detroit in the wild card. I think the only worst, if you're an Astros fan, this collapse has been terrible. But Detroit had a 15-game lead on Cleveland and has seen them fall a game behind Cleveland in the AL Central. And the Astros now are a game behind Detroit for the final wild card spot, 4 games back of Seattle for the division, which, barring a miracle, the Astros will not win the division. And I think the odds are even longer. Or getting longer that they're going to even make the playoffs. ESPN is the Astros at a 43% chance of making the playoffs right now. Sitting at 84-73. And struggling. Well, look at that.
I was in Houston today.
State Representative AJ Louderback joining us. Wasn't sure you were going to make it this morning.
Oh, goodness. Boy, that west traffic was something else. A lot of traffic this morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Monty Howard says, let the government shut down. It won't stop the world from turning. It's not like the rest of us won't keep working. The establishment doesn't like revealing that government doesn't actually run the country. Yeah, I think it's anywhere from about 15 to 18% of the federal government that actually shuts down when there's a shutdown. So I don't know. I can't understand why they can't figure this thing out in DC, but that's not why you're here. What's going on in your world? Any word on a third session, or is that talk just completely gone away?
I still mark it about 50-50. There's a little rumbling about it. My prediction is that we're probably clear of that right now. Maybe in 26, I think there's a possibility. I think that the number one concern of the governor has been property taxes. That seems to be the driving force behind the third. There are a couple of other things. I think he solved the THC problem by executive order. So with more regulation on that, which is much, much needed. So I think the one thing left that seems to be a heavy topic is property taxes.
Any real tangible solutions being floated ahead of that, or is it sort of let's once we get there we'll figure it out type of thing?
I don't know. I think it's a combination. I think there will be some plans going in there's some very good data out there. I do think that there's some reform needed on property taxes and how we go about that. There hadn't been any major reform in a long time, and there's a couple of different pathways to a different approach to property taxes. And so I think those will be explored heavily here.
Are we looking at a reduction in the property taxes, but an increase in maybe our state sales tax? Is that something?
Well,
that's being looked at?
maybe at one pathway is that you expand and have a larger group of state sales tax. So you bring in more state sales tax there to offset and diminish some of the property taxes. So another plan that I've heard championed is ultimately we pay down the M&O schools, try to clean that up, which will reduce property taxes substantially. So we have a better approach there.
And where would that money come from to pay down the M&O?
Some come from the state.
Yeah.
And then you have some additional manipulations. The balance that we've struck between property taxes, state sales tax, 8.5%, 8.25%. So, you're looking at a varied look at this. Coming out of the Senate, there's been exemptions, but the exemptions really have suffered because the appraisal rate has taken a lot of the exemption, so it kind of took some of the sting out of it, but didn't take all of it out. So, I think you're looking at a comprehensive approach to this. I do think there is a mood, there's a will, but for both chambers to look at property taxes very seriously.
Bonnie Howard asked, how does Texas property taxes get truly reformed without interrupting those revenue streams?
I think there's a way. There's everything that will be done. I think will be pretty seamless. It's a complex, very complex situation to work through. It's certainly not through the next 3-4 minutes on your show could we get to a point where we could, but I believe that that both chambers will. People are working on it right now. That's I think that will be front and center in January 27th.
Are you hearing anything that's sort of rising up as maybe a potential way to go? Is there something that's at this point the 5-2 odds-on favorite of being the proposal?
I think there are some hopeful plans. I think there's mainly two different plans that certain members are looking at pretty hard who would be leadership on this particular role.
What would that entail? Do you know?
I think it's going to be a combination of both. I think it's going to be a reduction in property taxes and maybe something that has to do with sales tax. You have to do but there are many areas of the state that don't have retail sales.
True.
So those details are going to have to be worked out about how we're able to spread that money around for cities and counties and all the different entities that trying to provide services for their constituents.
Because one of the criticisms the last time with the bigger exemptions and things was that the appraisals just followed suit and made up the revenue anyway.
Absolutely.
So how do is that something the state's looking at to take those appraisal boards and districts?
Well, conventionally,
neuter them.
Conventionally, you would have to have appraisal cap values. You couldn't do it anymore because you can't stand to increase the exemption amount and then simply wash it away with appraisal values that are higher. So that's what we've had the last two sessions. So there's a reluctance for some reason out of the Senate to do anything with appraisal caps. Yeah. So I think that will probably be in the equation somewhere.
I think what frustrates some people is they travel around and they end up at states that don't have sales tax. Their property taxes aren't as high as what we're paying here. So that's, that's something that's interesting.
Well, we won't, we'll never have income tax here, but,
No.
Consumption tax is another proposal. There's a myriad of different people who believe that they've got the fix on this.
Did you watch Jimmy Kimmel last night?
No, I did not. Not so much a Kimmel fan.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I probably haven't been since his days on the Man Show. Yeah. What do you make of real quick? Just shifting to the national scene or international scene. What do you make of Donald Trump's statements and comments at the United Nations yesterday?
The president's got a plan. The president, our president, I believe in what he does, what he stands for, and some of the methods he's used are very, very effective. So I listen intently to what he's got to say, and usually champion everything that he's for because it's so effective. You can't show me anything that President Trump has done. You may not like it, especially if you're a Democrat, but his effectiveness on making the changes necessary, his conservative values, I believe are beyond reproach.
I think it was yesterday I pointed out some of the stark contrast in illegal immigration numbers and encounters that Christine Noem pointed out, I think on Monday, and I had access to him yesterday. But how are we seeing those numbers in Texas? Are the border incidents in Texas just completely? I can't imagine they've gone away completely, but how drastic has the drop off been? Because they've got to mirror the federal numbers.
So the reality is that the Border Patrol was formed in 1920 by Congress. By 22, the first Border Patrol agents and records are starting to be kept at that point in time in our history. And historically, the U.S. Border Patrol today is almost daily setting new records. So the 1,260 something miles of Texas border is at the most secure point. It's even more secure than it was in Trump's first term. So what the president achieved here is border security. So through different agreements with Mexico, Remain in Mexico programs, the policies that he implemented in his first term have come back. What we're dealing with now is, and I talk weekly, sometimes daily to patrol agents in charge of the Border Patrol. They are literally setting new records each day. What's going on? So they may go 2, 3, 4 days and have zero activity.
Wow.
So it is a very effective and an absolute change from the Biden administration of the horrors and the disasters that he promoted and put in place to operate this way and to the decline of the country. So it internally, we've got an issue internally. So bed space, which Biden administration had cut bed space for ICE. They had diminished ICE in every way, form, and fashion purposely. So all these things have combined, and with the beautiful bill that was passed, their recruiting efforts are going well for ICE. But that's where the issue is now is internally, and especially in the major cities.
Yeah, as we saw yesterday or Monday in Conroe. So, Representative Louderback, thanks for stopping by. We're out of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we gotta get rolling. I know, traffic. Darn traffic.
I think Brent will be back. Brent will be back tomorrow.
Brent will be back tomorrow, but you're welcome to stop by anytime.
Yeah,
anything on your agenda.
By. Appreciate it.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Brent will be back tomorrow, and appreciate you all for tuning into the Wade and Carter Show. Have a good day, everybody. We'll see you all mañana. Bye, folks.